Alright, YouTube, let's settle this. Domino's Pizza in Canada has three different types of crust. First is thin crust, right? And the second is just plain, regular crust. And then, finally, we have deep dish. Not quite as deep dish as I would expect. I know that there are deep dishes in Chicago that are so deep you have to eat them with a spoon. So let's just say this is strictly a Domino's experiment. Alright, so let's just take these guys out of the box and start with a visual comparison. So here we are, staring at the three different types of pizza. We got deep dish, regular, and thin crust. Now I broke a piece off. Notice how the thin crusts are square cut? Now that must mean it's so thin that you can't cut it into a triangle, because the tip is so small and the crust is so thin and crunchy that it would just break apart. So it should be noted that Domino's in Canada hasn't had any of those recipe upgrades that swept through the US a few years ago. They've always had slightly better ingredients than the US, but ever since the recipe upgrade, Canada's fallen behind and we didn't get any of those upgrades. So I don't expect much from the crust, because, here in Canada, Papa John's has the best crust, and I have the best dipping sauce to go with that crust. No one else can match it. Okay, so my post-taste impressions are that the deep dish and regular crust pretty much taste the same. The crust itself is not that good, and for that reason, the regular crust does beat the deep dish, because the crust, when it comes down to it, it doesn't taste like anything. It's kind of bland. So if it gets even slightly browned or burnt, you taste that difference, and it's not a good taste. Burned is not a good taste. So for that reason, the deep dish suffers more than the regular crust, and because the crust is bland on its own, you can't expect it to taste better than the regular. It's just more work for your pizza. And, it's a shame, because you cost more. The deep dish is actually $1 more expensive, $1 more, and it doesn't taste better. So there are pizza pies that people eat which are so deep dish that they can eat it with a spoon, but that's supposed to be somewhere in Chicago, and it's supposed to taste really good. I haven't had a chance, so we're not going to compare this deep dish to those kinds of deep dish. We're just saying this is the state of Domino's deep dish situation. Now the thin crust, I gotta say, the thin crust is pretty much, as far as Domino's is concerned, it's perfect the way it is. This is the way they should always sell their pizza, because the ingredients speak for themselves. The sauce, the vegetables, they're all fresh, the cheese is good. Everything is fine when it comes down to the ingredients. So in terms of the crust, it's barely a type of cracker texture. It's very crunchy. You don't taste any kind of burned or browning on it. It's just it's unnoticeable. And my brother had a different opinion on it. He said that, in his opinion, that it kind of tastes, he thought the thin crust was a little bit homemade. That's not to say it was a bad thing, but he said that it doesn't really taste like pizza, because there's not that much crust to go with it. So his favorite is the regular, but my favorite is the thin crust. So they've done studies on this, and started to wonder what's better, pizza in New York or pizza in Chicago, or pizza elsewhere, anywhere else. And you can make the different styles of pizzas anywhere. Like you can make a thin crust anywhere. It doesn't really matter. It's a technique, right? But then they've done experiments, and they're wondering why is all the best pizza in Brooklyn? Why is all the best pizza in New York, and why is the pizza from LA or Chicago not as good? And that's also a matter of opinion, but let's just go strictly by the critics' opinions. And they think that it has something to do with the water. Like New York gets all of its water from Canada. At least the water they used to make pizzas. And one time they actually did an experiment where they imported water from New York, Chicago, and LA and stuff, and made 3 different pizzas, and you know, LA won according to the sorry, not LA, New York won according to the critics, and they didn't, and there was a blind taste test too, but they, you know, I guess they could taste the difference. There must be something in the water, and you know, I'm from Canada, so this is from BC, and the water is actually up from the mountain area. It's not fluoridated or anything like, or it doesn't have anything like that in it. So I think the pizzas here are pretty good. My favorite pizza is because of the crust, and I've tasted a whole bunch of different pizzas around here, and there are 2 people in BC, Canada, that make a great pizza, which is, the first is I love Papa John's pizza. I think that's the best crust. I think they give you the best dipping sauce for free as well, the garlic dipping sauce for the crust. And they also they have the best ingredients. Like, I can taste it. Like, I think Papa John's, hands down, probably my favorite. I got Domino's this time because it was a 3 for 30 deal for 3 larges. But then, you know, another place near here that makes great pizza is Omega Pizza, and they're not really well known, but you know, if their price difference between that and Papa John's is really different. Like, you can get you know, 3 pizzas from Omega, and it costs way less than getting 3 from Papa John's, and their pizza is pretty good too. I first heard about it from my friend Isan, and I thought it was just kind of weird because it was some strange place in the middle of nowhere, and he's like, let's get some pizza from here, it's pretty good. And then it turned out to be really good, actually. And you know, there was 2 locations. There was one in around like Kingsway, and then there's another one on I think it's 152nd or something. And at first, the 152nd one, I tried it from there, and it wasn't as good. So we used to actually drive all the way down, like maybe 20 minutes just to get the good pizza. And when we tried to order it by phone, we had to tell them, you know, oh no, we're going to be in the area. That's how we were able to pick it up, because they always try to get the other people to serve us instead. But I don't know, recently they've been working on it, and you know, we tried it again, and it's just as good from both locations now. So I think someone noticed it and told them it wasn't as good. So anyways, I think that water has a major factor in the quality of the pizza, based on the study that I saw on I can't remember where I saw it, but you can probably look it up and find out and figure out the details for yourself. And then also, you know, depending on who makes the pizza, like this is Domino's, their crust isn't that great, but their thin crust works pretty good, because you know, it's not really crust, it's more just crunchiness and the ingredients. So that, I guess that's why I like this configuration from Domino's. But you know, if I was gonna get actual pizza, I would get, you know, from Papa John's or from Omega.